Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know we love bringing you deep dives that get right to the heart of things, and today's topic is no exception.
We're going to be talking about practical steps for personal growth. You know, those things that can actually help you make positive changes in your life?
We're going to distill it down to the most powerful insights, leaving you with some ideas you can actually put into practice.
Because who doesn't love a good shortcut? We'll be looking at the connection between your body and mind, building courage, and why it's so important to stop comparing yourself to others, just to name a few.
Let's start with something I think we can all relate to, this idea of move your body, move your mind. The sources we're looking at today use this really cool analogy. Your body is like a car, and guess what? Movement is the fuel.
Makes sense, right. A car that just sits there doesn't exactly get you very far. And neither will you if you're not moving.
And here's the good news. You don't have to become some kind of marathon runner to benefit. Even small movements can make a huge difference. Think about it, a quick walk, maybe a few push-ups during a break, or even just cranking up the music and dancing for a bit.
It's not about being a fitness fanatic, it's about incorporating movement into your day. And you know what? The effect on your mind is pretty amazing. The sources talk about how physical activity can clear your head, make you a better decision maker, and even boost your confidence. It's like Tony Robbins says, motion creates emotion.
So powerful, right? It really shows how connected our physical and emotional states really are. It's not just about feeling good, there's actually science behind it.
Oh, absolutely. When you move, your brain releases all these mood-boosting chemicals called endorphins. Plus, it gets more blood flowing to your brain, which helps you think more clearly and focus better. So it's not just in your head, there's a real physiological reason why moving makes you feel so good.
And let's not forget about what we're putting into our bodies, right? The fuel matters. Our sources talk about making small, sustainable changes to your diet. Things like trading processed snacks for nuts and swapping sugary drinks for water.
Right. It's about building healthy habits that you can actually stick with over time. You know, even little things like cutting back on soda can make a huge difference in the long run. Think about all that sugar you're not putting in your body, and it really does make a difference. Like you were saying about your friend who started taking those walks and swapped a few things in their diet. The fact that their focus and energy improved so much that speaks volumes, doesn't it? It shows how powerful those small changes can be.
Okay, on to the next principle. And it starts with a pretty bold statement. No one is coming to save you. I know that might sound a bit harsh, but honestly, there's something empowering about taking ownership of your own life.
It's about shifting your mindset, right? Instead of waiting for things to happen, it's about taking charge and making them happen.
Exactly. And you don't have to wait for the perfect moment or have everything figured out to get started. The sources talk about using whatever you have right now, whether it's a little side project, taking a course online, or even just starting to outline that book you've always dreamed of writing. Just taking those first steps, however small they might seem, is key.
It's like that Denzel Washington quote, "If you don't fail, you're not even trying." It's so true. Taking action means you might mess up along the way, but that's part of the learning process. And speaking of learning, the sources emphasize that you should never stop learning new things.
Whether it's picking up some sales skills, figuring out the basics of investing, or just asking more questions, it's that constant pursuit of knowledge and skills that can really help you build a solid future.
It's about being proactive, and that's something that really stood out to me in that story about the woman who started her craft business from her kitchen while juggling everything else in her life. I mean, she was dealing with so many challenges, but she just kept taking those small steps forward, facing her fears every day. That's courage, wouldn't you say?
It's inspiring, for sure. She didn't wait for the perfect time. She just started where she was with what she had. It shows that you don't have to be fearless to be courageous.
You just have to act in spite of your fears.
All right, ready for principle number 3. It's all about this idea of you're not competing with anyone, which is so important these days, especially with social media constantly in our faces. It's so easy to get caught up comparing ourselves to everyone else's highlight reel, isn't it?
It can be toxic, you know? Constantly comparing yourself to others can really damage your self-esteem, and it can distract you from your own path. What these sources are saying is that the only competition you should really be worried about is with yourself.
Are you better today than you were yesterday? A little kinder, a bit more focused, even just a little bit more disciplined. Those are the victories that matter.
It's about focusing on those small, consistent improvements, not trying to make these massive changes overnight.
Right. The power of small, consistent actions can really add up over time. It's those tiny wins day after day that lead to lasting change. And it's about staying focused on your own journey.
And not letting yourself get sidetracked by what other people are doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The sources talk about this idea of mental blinders, like the ones they put on horses during a race. It's not about limiting yourself. It's about keeping your focus on your own lane. Because all that noise and distraction from comparing yourself to others, it can really hold you back.
We need those mental blinders now more than ever.
So true. And I love the parable of the bamboo tree. You know how the bamboo spends years growing its roots underground before it even starts to shoot up.
Oh, I love that one.
It's a great reminder that sometimes, even when it feels like nothing's happening on the surface, there's a lot of growth happening beneath the surface, you know?
It's a reminder that sometimes you have to be patient, that real growth takes time.
All right, on to principle number 4, and it's a big one. Control your actions and reactions. What the sources are saying is that even though we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. It's about taking ownership of your reactions and not just letting your emotions run wild.
It's a powerful idea, and it's at the core of developing emotional intelligence and resilience. It's about recognizing that there's a space between something happening and how you respond to it. That space is where you have the power to choose.
The sources use this brilliant metaphor, the thermostat versus the thermometer. A thermometer just reflects the temperature around it,
Yeah.
right? But a thermostat, it actually sets the temperature.
So the goal is to be more like a thermostat, not just reacting to everything around you, but setting your own internal temperature, so to speak.
Choosing your environment rather than being at the mercy of your environment. I was reading about that story you shared where your boss yelled at you, but instead of getting upset, you stayed calm, and it actually changed the whole dynamic of the situation.
I know, right? It's funny how when you don't give someone the reaction they're expecting, it can really throw them off. It can actually de-escalate the whole thing. It just goes to show you how powerful being in control of your reactions can be.
And there's a really simple technique that the sources suggest. When you feel yourself getting triggered, just pause. Take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? It's such a simple thing, but it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. That pause gives you a chance to step back, to think before you react, you know? It helps you make a more intentional choice instead of just going with your initial knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, moving on to principle number 5, and it's all about keeping your word. Follow through on what you say. It sounds simple, but the sources really emphasize how important this is for building trust, especially trust in yourself.
Absolutely. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build that self-confidence. It reinforces the belief that you're capable and reliable. And conversely, when you break those promises, it erodes that trust.
You know, they use this cool image of a trust battery. Every time you follow through, it charges the battery, and every time you break a promise, it drains it.
Love that analogy.
And when that battery is charged, you feel more confident, more capable, and you're more likely to take on bigger challenges. The advice they give is to start small. Maybe you commit to waking up 15 minutes earlier, going for a short walk during lunch, or reading a few pages before bed. It's not about these huge dramatic changes. It's about building those small habits of follow-through.
Right, those small wins build momentum, and pretty soon you start to realize you can rely on yourself to do what you said you would do. It's powerful. It's like that story they share about the person who transformed their life just by sticking to one simple rule: I don't lie to myself anymore. It's amazing how such a simple commitment can have such a huge impact. They talk about how their whole life changed for the better: their health, their work, their sense of self.
It's proof that real change starts with being honest with yourself and following through on your commitments.
Absolutely.
Okay, ready for principle number 6. It's all about taking back your power. Don't give your power away. It's about recognizing those times when we get caught up in other people's opinions, overthinking everything, and reacting emotionally to every little thing.
It can be so exhausting, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're giving away our energy to things that ultimately don't matter. And one of the biggest points the sources make is that no one can actually control you unless you let them.
Right. They talk about how reacting emotionally to things like anger, hurt, or self-doubt actually gives those external factors power over you. You're letting them dictate how you feel.
Exactly. And a lot of times that's exactly what the other person wants to get a rise out of you, you know? But when you refuse to react, when you stay calm and in control, you're taking your power back. It's like there's this quiet strength in not letting things get to you.
The sources talk about this idea of the quiet power and being unbothered. And it's not about being rude or indifferent, it's about being deliberate with your energy and not letting other people's negativity drain you.
It's about choosing where you want to focus your attention.
And there's this quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza that really resonated with me. He talks about how those repeated emotional reactions, getting upset or angry over and over again about the same things, it actually drains your energy.
Yeah.
It's like you're literally giving away your life force to those negative thoughts and emotions.
There's a real physiological cost to it.
It's like that story they shared about the person who left a toxic relationship by simply choosing to stop reacting. They stopped engaging in the drama, and eventually the other person just gave up. They realized their peace of mind was more important than getting drawn into those endless arguments. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just walk away.
Walk away and take your power with you.
Okay, on to principle number 7, build quiet discipline. And it's not about that whole hustle culture, always on, grind yourself to the bone mentality. It's about something much more sustainable.
Right. It's about those consistent internal efforts, the small things you do day in and day out that build up over time. It's like that analogy they use about the tree. You don't see the tree growing every day, but it's steadily getting stronger, putting down deeper roots, and reaching higher towards the sun.
And it's all happening quietly in the background.
It's a great metaphor for how real growth happens. It's not always flashy or dramatic, but it's consistent and powerful. And one of the things the sources talk about is that it's really important to focus on your internal motivation.
Like who you're becoming through all those efforts.
Exactly. It's about doing things because they matter to you, because they align with your values, not because you're trying to impress someone else or get external validation. It's about finding that quiet strength within yourself.
It's like Brian Tracy says, self-discipline is the key to personal greatness. It's about being able to show up for yourself, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it.
Because that's how you build a life you're proud of.
Absolutely. And, to help you get started, they suggest this really simple 30-day challenge. Pick one small thing. It could be anything. Maybe do a few push-ups every day, read a few pages of a book, or cut out sugar after dinner.
The key is to pick something you can do consistently every single day for 30 days. It's not about the size of the action. It's about building that habit of showing up for yourself.
And once you build that momentum, you can start to tackle bigger and bigger challenges.
Exactly.
Okay, on to principle number 8, and it's one that can be a bit challenging in our always connected world. Learn to be okay alone. So much of our culture is focused on being social, being part of a group, and being constantly connected. But the sources really encourage us to embrace solitude as a valuable opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
It's about finding that inner strength and peace that comes from being comfortable in your own company.
It's about learning to enjoy your own thoughts, being okay with silence, and not always feeling the need to be surrounded by people or distractions.
There's a quote from a monk that really gets to the heart of this. He says, "If you can't spend time alone, you're in bad company." It really makes you think, right?
It's about learning to enjoy your own company, because if you can't be alone with yourself, who can you be alone with?
And one of the things the sources suggest is to try intentionally ghosting the world for a little while.
Reducing your social media time, maybe skipping a few social events, and not feeling pressured to respond to every message right away.
It's about creating space for introspection and self-reflection.
You shared that story about how you took a 3-month break to focus on yourself. Less social media, more time writing and exercising. What was that experience like for you?
It was honestly life-changing. It gave me so much clarity, and it helped me reconnect with what was really important to me. I think everyone should try it. Even if it's just for a few days, Just step away from all the noise and see what happens.
It's a great reminder that sometimes you need to disconnect to truly connect with yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to principle number 9. And it's about questioning everything you thought you knew about success. Redefine your version of success. The sources challenge us to move beyond those traditional external markers of success, money, status, fame, and really think about what truly matters to us as individuals.
Because so often we're chasing after someone else's definition of success without even stopping to ask ourselves what we really want.
Right. And what makes us truly happy might look completely different from what society tells us it should look like. The sources highlight things like peace of mind, good health, a simple life, waking up excited about your day. It's about finding your own definition of fulfillment, not someone else's.
Exactly. And they tell this really great story about two neighbors. One of them had all the outward signs of success, the big house, fancy car, the whole 9 yards. But he was miserable. The other neighbor lived a much simpler life, but he was genuinely content. It's a reminder that true success is about finding that inner peace and fulfillment, regardless of what your life looks like on the outside.
Okay, ready for the final principle? This one is all about protecting one of your most valuable resources, your energy. Protect your energy like it's gold. The sources use this really cool analogy, thinking of your energy like a bank account.
Every time you engage in something draining, you're making a withdrawal. Every time you do something that nourishes you, you're making a deposit.
The key is to be mindful about where you're spending your energy and to make sure you're making more deposits than withdrawals, which means setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain you, and making time for things that energize you.
And it's okay to be a little selfish with your energy, you know? You don't have to explain yourself to anyone.
Exactly. The sources talk about how not needing to justify your need for peace is actually a sign of growth.
And that's so true, because when you start prioritizing yourself, when you start setting those boundaries, some people might not like it. They might not be able to reach you as easily as they used to, you know? But that's okay. It's a sign that you're growing and that you're taking control of your own life.
So, to quickly recap those 10 principles we've covered. Move your body, move your mind, build your future, even if you're scared. You're not competing with anyone but yourself. Take control of your reactions, follow through on your word, don't give away your power. Cultivate quiet discipline, learn to be okay alone, redefine your version of success, and protect your energy.
And the main takeaway here is that becoming the best version of yourself isn't about reaching some kind of finish line. It's a journey, a process of continuous growth, and it starts from within.
And it's about making conscious choices that align with your values, not just going through the motions or trying to live up to someone else's expectations. So as you go about your day, think about which of these principles really resonated with you, and what's one small step you can take today to start putting it into practice. Remember, the power to shape your life is in your hands. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.